Welcome to the energy update for the Gemini full moon lunar cycle, covering the 2-week period from the Gemini full moon on December 8th through to the new moon in Capricorn on December 23rd. As always, my energy updates are channeled messages using homemade oracle cards, and there will be themes in this full moon cycle that I discuss that will carry through all the way through to the end of the lunar year, which is in January of 2023. And as you can see, we've got these two hands here, and you're kind of showing this duality of Gemini energy. And the words that came out were grand hands of choice, which I believe is actually the title of this piece. So what this Gemini full moon feels like it's bringing up is another form of integration, which is the integration of the concept of shifting out of karmic reality into a reality where we more consciously choose the lessons that we learn as opposed to having them thrust upon us. So there's more freedom of choice, and we can kind of, choose your own adventure type existence, and integrating that with the idea of a more fated, predestined existence that some more expanded version of ourselves has kind of charted out. And so really this is about finding, this is one of those being able to hold two ideas at once, being able to navigate paradox in that way where we're not seeing things in opposition to each other and we're really feeling our way through them. So we can see that these hands have they've been through it. They've experienced some trauma and they've seen some shit, right? And so hands, of course, we create with our hands, but they're also how we give and receive. So we've got this hand that's kind of quite wounded, that's sort of up and maybe a bit more closed off, or saying like stop or no. And then we've got this open hand that's interestingly kind of a darker tone than the other hand. So our darkness might be supporting us in our ability to receive, or our shadow aspects might be supporting us in our ability to both give and receive during this period. And our wounds and our traumas may still be guiding us a little bit when an opportunity or something presents itself and we kind of make the choice to say no to it or reject it. But that's fine, because the paradigm, of course, that we're shifting into as we expand our consciousness is where opportunities and gifts and blessings, you can reject them because it's not the right time yet, and you still don't feel quite ready to pursue something or to receive something, or there's still something that has to take place before you can allow yourself to, or feel comfortable allowing yourself to have that experience. And that's just fine. It's just going to come up again and again. These beautiful gifts are just going to keep presenting themselves again and again to us. So there's no need to worry if you do find yourself feeling like you're making a decision or saying no to something that you wish you could say yes to, saying no to receiving or giving or creating something that you wish you could say yes to, but you just don't feel ready yet. You still feel a little too, you're still, unpacking or processing or recovering from all, a lifetime of, or lifetimes upon lifetimes of trauma or wounds or just, gnarled, effed up nervous system stuff. But it is really interesting to see how those shadow sides of ourself and those darker aspects of ourself can potentially help us if we do want to pivot from a no to a yes, or if we do want to say yes to creating or giving or receiving something, to draw on those more shadowy parts of ourselves. And at the bottom, if you can see it, is the page number was 109. So if you look at that with numerology, you get a 10, which is completions of cycles around this. So this could be very much a period where we are completing a karmic cycle on this issue. So whereas the previous card for the Gemini full moon was more on the intense side. This is a very light and playful partner card that came out, and as you can see with the crescent moon there, it feels like the energy of this is going to be felt maybe more as this Gemini full moon starts to wane and go back towards a new moon. So we've got these beautiful 5 Easter eggs dancing together, 5 always signaling, change. And definitely a message like, don't forget to make merry and dance. We've got these lovely light colors, these playful, childlike colors, purple and pale pink, always symbolizing that, like, kind of like unconditional love, but like from a childlike, joyful place. Purple, very integrated. It's got integrated red, blue energy, and also connected to, our third eye and our psychic awareness, our downloads, our connection to the spirit realms. So one aspect of Easter eggs for me is always little nuggets, little treasures, little clues, and rewards and gifts and blessings that I've woven into my reality to find along the way, like Easter eggs in a video game or something like that. So it's really telling us, as we navigate the world of choice, to be on the lookout for these. And so the part that references the apples falling from a golden tree, so those apples, that's signaling. Apples are always, for me, a signal of exactly what I said for the previous card, which is moving into a reality where we are choosing our lessons and choosing what we say yes to and say no to. So what's really coming through with this playful energy is the trust in our choice, trusting that whether or not we say yes or no to the opportunities or things that are presenting, we can expect blessings and gifts and rewards. So it's not about just relentlessly pushing ourselves to constantly expand and say yes to everything that comes our way, or else, we're a spiritual failure, or we're a failure as a person. As we move into this energy where we're really, much more focused on play and rest, it's very important to be comfortable saying no without having like a punishing narrative running around in your head about saying no, not yet, maybe not this, something else, and knowing that those blessings are going to keep coming. So be on the lookout for Easter eggs that may also pay off more in the spring. These Easter eggs are pointing to things that are going to come to fruition around Easter. And that is, spring of 2023, as you've probably heard elsewhere. It's a lot of big changes on the horizon and a lot of movement and, just like things falling into place, things finally actualizing that you might have been hoping for or working towards for a very long time. So look for those Easter eggs, have fun with them. Some of them are just going to be purely for silliness and play, to really remind us to keep those energies even as we work towards our goals. And some of them will have to do with the goals that we are working towards. There's a lot of house energy in this too, which always signals to me that there could be, for some of us, either buying a house, moving into a new house, something connected to where we live. So this is a really, really fun card for this period, and kind of has some of that fun Sagittarian energy behind it too, because we're still in the Sagittarius season. So still in this Gemini full moon period, we've got this card, which is a Georgia O'Keeffe, and I've turned it on its side because to me it really looked like this kind of feminine spirit being, a little bit ghostly, definitely very shadowy, definitely a goddess or an entity of the darkness, a little bit of whale and marine energy to her as well. For me, I see like fins, like she's swimming through the reality. Here we've got again this contrasting colors, but now it's black and gray, and I heard somebody today say the word anarchist grayscale, and that feels very accurate to this image. We do have white, but we have a lot of gray, I feel like this feminine energy, over the hill she came, the insensate other, is very much a kind of anarchic shadow darkness feminine um, who can be chaotic. Sometimes she's chaotic, and that's how she helps us get off of timelines and let go of realities that aren't serving us and kind of let things die. This does not feel like an image of chaos to me. It feels more, there's a sadness there, there's a death energy there. It's possibly a little bit of a return into some of that feminine despair, hopelessness energy that we have been integrating since 2021. The message that has always come through around that is to treat that energy as you would a grieving friend, with a lot of patience and kindness and love. And as you can see, her face is kind of shining a path into the abyss, into the darkness. And the amount of gray in this image, that darkness feels a lot more manageable than it maybe has over the past year and a half, where it's felt it's felt pretty unbearable and pretty hard to tolerate at times. The other thing that's interesting, the insensate other, I mean, whenever I see the other personally, everything for me is like soul integration. So the other is always a symbol to see, what is this mirroring in myself? How is the other actually me? To dissolve the illusion of separation between myself and the other. And in this case, insensate can mean lacking in senses, if you look at the etymology of the word, which is kind of a ethereal place. It might indicate like a little bit of getting out of touch of our body's five senses reality and into a realm that's a lot more etheric and sort of cloudy and netherworldy. So we might be feeling some of that energy. But also insensate can kind of mean an energy that's more irrational. And of course, in our current paradigm, irrational is not a term that we use favorably, but actually there's a lot of instances in where rational thought is not the most helpful tool in our arsenal. And allowing ourselves to go into that irrational place and feeling more safe. I'm hearing bring the whales, bring the energy of the pod of the whales with you if this kind of feminine energy is more triggering for you, if you're not as comfortable in it. Bring the energy of the whales as your guide to move through it and to allow you to get as much of its benefits as possible without being kind of bogged down and getting stuck in its heaviness and its density. So for some of us, we may feel this personally in some capacity. Some of us, we may feel it in our dreams at night and less so during the day, which allows us to just kind of move through that in the dream world. And for some of us, this is going to be an energy that those around us are moving through, and we might be helping them navigate. And that could be, helping them navigate it could take any number of forms, including setting boundaries with people who are really, really exploring this energy and maybe really deep in it. And it's okay to bring a little bit of boundaries and structure and say enough, and say I can tolerate this much of this energy but not beyond, and I don't really have room to spend all day in this. It could also be something that's felt at the collective level and maybe we're not feeling it so much ourselves. So pay attention to how this energy plays out during the full moon period for you. And definitely the message seems to be don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to wade into it and navigate it a little bit, but don't be afraid to set very firm boundaries about how much time you want to spend in it, and to be okay, it's enough. It's time. It's time to get back to a lighter and more playful side of things, because we have spent so much time getting to know this part of ourselves that we don't necessarily need to put more than look how much of her is in there versus what's in the gray. It's just a little dip your face in and then dip out kind of energy. So I think of this as the frenemies card. We've got these two adorable snakes who look like they're simultaneously kind of all cuddling up with each other, fighting, having a laugh, and just a reminder that whatever aspect of your reality, if it's a person, a situation, a role, that you feeling like, you know, it's your enemy, not to lose sight of that like bigger cosmic perspective where everything is your ally and your friend and loves you. And as you can see from the way that these snakes are kind of entangled with each other, you know, if they both race away from each other really quickly or like just like make sudden movements, they could just end up making this knot even tighter. But if they take their time and they stay relaxed, it's actually very easy to disentangle themselves and just, yeah, get to a more comfortable place. And the words that we've got to go along with it also are helpful in navigating that sense of conflict. So it says the closest cooperation of all, knowing when to give in. So whatever the situation is, whether it's a conflict with a person or with something in your life that's just not working out, or you feel like really tangled up in and it's just you're not making any headway, the message here is about moving towards cooperation with your reality, cooperation with the other, and surrendering as a means to moving towards this cooperation, to be able to unsnarl that tangle. That can mean having a conversation with yourself where you ask yourself, do I want to be right, or do I want to you know, for this to be over and to seek a path of harmony, which is more important to me. Or it can also be knowing when to let go of a situation, and knowing that letting go of a situation or a relationship isn't an uncooperative thing to do. It can be a way to take space apart, whether that's permanently in this incarnation or for just a period of time, so that each party can just work on their own stuff in their own space and just disentangle in their own way, in their own time, and then you'll come back together again. Or it can just mean letting go of something completely without knowing what will come from that, and just trusting that that is the most cooperative move that you can make at this time. These snakes remind me of coral snakes, which are these guardians of the underworld. They support the move out of the underworld and into the afterlife. So there's a very supportive transitionary energy here with whatever the situation is, where you've likely been feeling like you were in the underworld dealing with it, that it's going to be possible to move into that afterlife, aka rebirth phase with this. And we also have the little rocks around them, which whenever these rocks show up, they always look like potatoes to me, which are a sign of abundance. And this is especially important to keep in mind if the situation in question, if maybe it's a role or a job that you no longer want to have, a role you no longer want to play for people in your life or a person in your life, or whatever, a relationship you no longer want to be in, or you want to change it radically, but you're just feeling like if you do that, you're too needed, you're too, you know, the situation or the person is too dependent on you, and so you would be abandoning them, and all you can think of is like, oh my God, everything will go to hell, you know, what will they do without me, how will this, you know, reality cope without my involvement. And this is really, really pointing to letting go of that understanding of reality, that in order for your external reality to function well and for the people in it to thrive and for your world to thrive, that you need to be, you know, doing things that you don't want to, playing roles that you don't want to, being a version of yourself that you no longer feel you are or want to be, or chaining yourself to some kind of like drudgery of experience. This is a time to break that cycle for good. I call this card, Who Gave the Rhinoceros Unlimited Drink Tickets? We've got a rhinoceros who has just ripped a tree out of the ground with its horn, and it says, "I'm never going to run away again." So this image for me really connects to the previous one, which was all about knowing when to give in and disentangling ourselves from situations and relationships that are no longer working for us. This rhinoceros for me are a very interesting energy because they always symbolize like charging at a problem straight on, but they're herbivores, so it's a very peaceful energy. So you can run towards what you're afraid of, or even a situation of tension or conflict. You can tackle it head on, but bring that peaceful herbivore energy to it. Even though I know this particular rhinoceros has just uprooted a tree, this feels like a very necessary uprooting that's happening. And so we have to trust in the rhino's peacefulness with this energy of letting go. Yeah, so we've uprooted a tree. Now this can have a few different meanings. This can reference a really big, if we were in that process of letting go of something that really just wasn't working, there can be a big sense of like, wow, there is a big gap in my life where whatever that was, that person or that role or that job or whatever was, and so we just like feel like we've just ripped a whole tree out of the ground to make space for something new to come in. Now uprooting, which is what this rhino does, can also signal like physical moves, like we're literally uprooting our lives in a very big way so that we can begin a new phase in potentially a different location. So some of you might feel that during this time. If not the actual move, then taking a big step towards it. And you may see physical signs of that in your external reality, or you may just feel it internally and energetically that you are moving towards a goal of shifting out of one life very tangibly and into a new one. And then I'm never going to run away again. This is also, to me, connects to the previous card where, as we've been doing a lot of integrating of lessons and releasing old habits and old ways of being, it may have been for you, it's been for me a very taxing process on the nervous system. It's involved a lot of emotional roller coastering and triggering of fight or flight responses, and then self-soothing and all of that stuff. So you can have trepidation about running towards those situations that can hold major triggers each time, running towards them again and again and facing them again and again. However, it feels like having come through this Gemini full moon, there's a feeling of like, I don't have to be as afraid and hesitant and like like a feeling of dread towards going towards those situations anymore. Maybe you can be surprised by how light you feel after having moved through whatever the Gemini full moon has been putting you through. So that's why I think what also appealed to me about this is that this little rhinoceros, it almost looks like it's like dancing, it looks like it's shaking its ass a little bit. So there is a very lighthearted feeling. And for those of you who have watched my previous videos, there was a rhinoceros who showed up in the summer who was staring straight at the camera, and the message was, "Be my miracle." So I do always associate rhinos with miraculous energy and with miracles coming into external reality and coming to fruition. There was gold light that actually miraculously just appeared in that video, and we see there's threads of gold, and there's in the tree, and the leaves are gold, and the rhinoceros itself is gold in this one. So expect some real world miracle or miracles of some kind to come during this period as well. It's really awesome. So this is a really interesting collage of images. We've got another Georgia O'Keeffe painting as the backdrop. Very stark, very, you know, a lot of death symbolism there. We've got the sunset, we've got a big black cross, and all those kind of gray mountains. And then on top of that, some very cute and silly images of pink images of pigeons. And we're really in that crescent moon phase again, like going towards that Capricorn new moon. And then we've also got this little bandit holding a loot bag with the number 2. So I'll start with the backdrop. So we've been through a big death with that Gemini full moon, and also some of us are closing out huge cycles of the past 3 years of our entire lives that have died. And so you know, it takes a huge cross that kind of eclipses almost everything else to sort of like commemorate as a headstone that death energy. So it may be helpful during this time to really just remind yourself that of whatever deaths you have gone through over the past few cycles, and perhaps some kind of ritual to commemorate them and just honor them, so that they, you know, oh, here's a siren to confirm that idea, so that they really feel truly anchored in, and that you are really very much acknowledging, yes, this has happened. Then the pigeons really wanted to announce their presence, not one but two, and then the word pigeons all came flying out at me when I was selecting images and words. I just recently watched the movie Enchanted, where a cartoon fairy tale princess is sent to live in like 3D real world reality, and at one point she's living in New York, and so, you know, she's used to communing and like collaborating with all the little creatures of the forest, but it's New York, so it's cockroaches, pigeons, and rats who come to be her friends, and there's like little pigeons at the window, and then she just embraces them, and she joyfully, you know, makes magic with them. And the energy of that film is so, like her energy in that film, the main character, is so infectious, and it is this form of the feminine that we haven't been feeling in a while, because we've been playing around and exploring the kind of grander, older, and darker, destructive parts of the feminine, which are all beautiful, but we've been spending a lot of time in them over the past few years and getting to know them and their power and their wisdom and their, you know, healing capacities and their capacity for taking care of us. But there's this beautiful, naive, innocent, feminine, young energy that just sees everything through the eyes of magic and wonder and playfulness, and that's definitely what these pigeons feel like they are helping us tap into. And with that pink as well, that fun like children's book pink, right? So they're interesting because the pigeons are also messengers, and they do feel connected to the underworld, but it's almost like now any kind of underworld that we might be in because of these death cycles that we've been going through, we're seeing it with these eyes of wonder, these childlike eyes of wonder, and it's very, very silly and playful. You may also get very important messages during this period. Like the messenger pigeons may be literally calling on you, tapping at your window, to send you really important messages about the next phase of your life, next steps that you want to take. So be on the alert, and look for pigeons to send you those messages, like online, wherever. Like, look for pigeons to alert you that a message is coming or that it's already arrived. So what these messages are going to be relating to is material wealth, abundance, money opportunities. Again, we've got this integrated energy. We've got pink and blue, so masculine feminine integration here, and this masculine looking bandit who is also there to assist. I will always use this time to point out that our masculine energy is not, ideally is not used for survival. It's a creative, playful, fun energy that we use to make things happen, to bring things into material reality, but for fun and joy, and kind of just to show off, like, hey, I can do this. And it's really our feminine energy that takes care of all of our survival needs, because they are always already taken care of. And it's just about remembering that. So there's not really any creative actions that we need to take to experience material wealth and prosperity and abundance. And yes, boy, is that ever a huge lesson to remember, learn, integrate, and anchor in. But I think the masculine here is bringing a little bit of play and of mischief, and some like a kind of showing off energy again. So we've got that feminine that's already taking care of all our needs, but this is like showing, hey, I can make things happen. I can make money appear out of thin air if I want to. And why does he look like a bandit? Well, we are still in this year of integration. So even though hopefully most of us have gotten through our intense shadow exploration healing phase, and we're coming out of that, and we're finally letting go of the need to like delve into every little part of ourselves and send it healing energy and spend all this time in examining and self-examination and all of that stuff and going through the emotional roller coaster. We still are integrating. So there feels like there's a little bit of guilt energy that's still hanging around, can it be, first of all, can it be that easy for money and prosperity to come into our lives? And also the aspect of, do we deserve it? Have we done enough to earn it, even though that's a complete illusion? And the more of us the more we realize that that's an illusion, the more that ripples out into the collective, and we no longer align ourselves with versions of reality where people have to earn their survival, and we just align ourselves more and more with the versions of the earth where everybody's survival needs and more are just always taken care of. Which brings me to the other aspect of the guilt, which is, how can I have money when other people are living in poverty? So instead of getting bogged down with any judgmental kind of narratives around money itself and wealth, this number 2 energy is inviting us to be playful in the way that we approach unity consciousness, which is, at its core, there is no separation between me and my external reality, me and another, me and society. So taking that as our guide and playing with it, seeing how, as money starts to show up in our lives, how is that mirroring out, right? We've got this two here. I am one and I am the other. I am both. So say some money comes to you during this period. Try to see how, playfully, how it can show up mirrored back, how that abundance that came into your life can be mirrored back in the life of another. You could ask your guides to show you this, to send you examples. So say some money comes to you, and then simultaneously a day later or that day you get news of some friend who's been struggling and something really great happened and money came to them as well, right? Out of the blue, something like that. Or, go a little further than just your direct connections. Maybe there's a struggling business or a nonprofit or some kind of organization that specifically works around issues of scarcity and poverty that is suddenly going to get some good financial news or a windfall or things like that. Or maybe you're just going to get some money and then that day or that week you're going to come across a news story of something unexpected happening in the world financially that really benefits a community or a group that could really, really use it, right? This isn't when we're doing this work around abundance and especially around material prosperity and wealth. It's so important to remember that when we're doing this, reconditioning of our attitudes and our narratives and our beliefs, it's from a place of love. It's from a place of recognizing that we are all gods and we are all so deeply connected. I think a lot of times we get scared that our ego is taking over when we want to experience more comfort in our life and less. We don't want our energy to be drained by worrying about like medical bills or anything, like any kind of emergency situation coming along that, it's going to throw everything into chaos. When we're just sick of that story and we just want to experience more comfort and more ease, we get worried when we're on a spiritual path that's just taking us down some kind of ego path. And it's so important to reconnect to the incredible love and sense of connectedness to the whole. In fact, the more at ease we are in our environment in a way that feels good and sustainable to us personally, deeply, that's how we really reconnect with that version of the earth that already exists, that is completely and totally balanced, flourishing, abundant, and sustainable. So think of this period, which, surprise, does coincide with Christmas, as every gift you receive. Think of those gifts when you're opening them. Imagine yourself while you're opening any Christmas gifts you receive, that gift is rippling out right into the fabric of the earth. It's rippling out into the corners of the earth that need it the most, into places where there's the most fear and scarcity around resources, and think of that gift just multiplying and multiplying and multiplying in the most loving, beautiful, and sustainable way possible. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe for more energy updates, channel messages, and other cool stuff.